Unless the new Armour Fury two-wheel drive short course truck turns up on my doorstep in the next couple of months, and being in Australia it probably won't. This might be the last short course truck in the entire series that we're doing at least this year before I can do the roundup of all of them. We've got a bunch. Now if you look in the description after this video, you'll see a full list with all the other videos I've done on short course trucks. After today's video, we're going to do a comparison and I'm going to tell you who I think each car might be best suited for. Today, my friends, we're looking at the Associated Pro2 LT10, and this is the SW, or the short wheelbase variant. It still runs the Beefcake Reedy 3300 kV 4-pole brushless motor that is in, here we are, the Pro 4 SC10 that we looked at all that long ago. But this is the two-wheel drive. So there's your motor camping in the back. Now this is a funny motor and ESC combo, because the ESC is actually discontinued on Associated's website, but it's still selling you and the car is still selling you, which is a bit of an odd one. Anyway, here we are. Let's take a look at it. This is the Pro2 LT10SW from Associated. I have these radios coming out of my ears pretty much, the XP120. It's a 2-channel radio with all the normal stuff. It does not have independent endpoint adjustment, but it does have dual rate. For this kind of car, really it's good enough. It's actually quite a decently finished little machine. It doesn't weigh much. Without battery, 1.8 kilos. She's quite a lightweight car. The closest thing I have here to it, which also has a brushless system in the rear, by the way, would be the HPI. Now, the Flux version does actually come with a brushless system, but this one didn't. There we go. 2.15 kilos. So not a lot of difference. All the more impressive given you've got a metal chassis, whereas this fella's plastic. But they are actually quite different machines, and this is longer wheelbase as well. So these are both what I would call lightweight cars, and if you're after a rear-wheel drive short course truck, they're two of the ones that you probably want to be looking at. There is also a longer wheelbase version of this. I bought the short wheelbase one because I wanted to get an idea of just how different the handling might be. Did you know that this system actually comes with a gyro? Nothing on this says gyro, and I know this radio backwards. It's not a gyro equipped thing, it's just a basic 2-channel radio, which means we probably have a screw adjustment for gyro inside. So let's take a rundown of this thing. It's just a tub chassis, and it's actually kind of like a buggy more than a short course truck on the chassis underneath. It doesn't look like it's one piece with this little piece there, but that's actually a cover. The chassis goes all the way back. We'll talk about that in a sec. It's got pretty good protection, front and rear actually. This is the older style of machine. You've still got body pins, which is fine. Works just fine. Oh, I should also say it comes with some basic tools. So box wrench or wheel wrench, a couple of little Allens, and a multi-wrench, which will be to do your turnbuckles, among other things. The manual's not bad. The nice thing I like about this manual is you have 1-to-1 size stuff, so you can hold the screw over the manual and see. I like any manual that does that. It is actually useful as far as repairing it goes. You've got exploded parts diagrams and stuff like that. And I think there were some tips at the end of it, and gearing. The bits that were frustrating was it didn't tell me anything about the included ESC. Not really its purpose, but it is also still the manual for the whole car, so it kind of is. I should add that it also came with an instruction manual for the radio. Okay, so it does actually have information about the gyro. So this is the XPR4 DVC, and that's dynamic vehicle control. There is a little screw there which you can adjust the gain on, which adjusts its sensitivity for how it reacts. We'll get to that when we're driving in a little bit. And I'd also suggest out of the box the settings are probably, although we'll test, they're probably going to be all right. I'd like to know what its maximum current draw is. It doesn't say. If you look on the website though, the ESC will handle up to a 3900 kV motor. This is a 33. We've covered quite a lot without lifting the lid. I'll lift the lid. Finished in one color underneath. That makes the colors pop on the outside. Using white or silver when you finish the body can actually help with that. Now here's the machine itself. If you want to adjust that gyro, you're going to need to undo two 2mm bolts, and I've got tools here, but it's pretty straightforward. And then there'll just be a flat screwdriver to adjust the little wheel. Now, a couple of things I've had with these cars in the past, in particular with the MT10 Rival, I had a shock that wasn't installed correctly, and so we had no damping on one of the corners. And on the Pro4 SC10, I had some other issue. Oh yeah, the ESC was flapping around, the double-sided tape hadn't been installed properly. We've got aluminium body shocks with a fairly solid plastic top on it. When I sent the Traxxas VXL into the air the very first time, the big bore shocks, the cap blew off. It's all plastic. That happens. You can address that, and we've got a video coming. There are a lot of things to address on this car. But I pulled the Traxxas out to say, hey, the Associated Pro4 SC10 has plastic body shocks, plastic tops. The plastic tops look pretty similar. And this thing has been used and used and used and used, like jumped and blown around, lent to people. This car has had a tough time, and it's held together beautifully. I haven't modified it at all, and it handles wonderfully. There's a center diff on this thing, which also makes it pretty special. But the car is great. No gyro, same radio system. So this thing has the gyro, which for a rear-wheel drive car is always a good addition, unless you like the challenge of spinning out a bunch until you get really, really, really finessed with the throttle when you're steering on loose surfaces, because it's a difficult thing to master. Easy to understand, but difficult to master. It's a rear-mounted motor being a rear-wheel drive. I understand we have metal gears throughout, and it's got room for different pinion sizes. You can pop the cover off on that end to fiddle with that, which when you change the pinion, you've also got to loosen the motor mount and slide it a bit to get your mesh good. It feels nice and smooth. It actually feels like 48 pitch gears. I hope it's not. This is a great design. Look at this. This actually looks like when it bends in that the plastic's being damaged, but it's not. It's actually on a multi-hinge system, kind of like a windscreen wiper setup on trucks. It lets that happen. It's beautiful and soft. I mean, seriously, look at this. Look at that. There's heaps of flex in that. The front is a bit more stiff, and it's going to take more impacts, I imagine, or this is going to happen a lot. So that's good, right? The front's good. It's really nice, bendy plastic. It's not just going to snap, even if it's running in the cold. The towers appear to be made of a firmer plastic. It's still got a little bend in it, so perhaps it's just a more dense... Oh no, it could be the same plastic actually. It's just in the design. There are gussets in the back. It's not all just solid. Like you've got... think of like a C-channel rail. There's strength in that because it's of that bend. This has that same kind of thing. So there's actually pretty smart design here, keeping it lightweight and still keeping it quite firm. These absolutely could snap. Anything can break, right? It's a standard metal gear servo with a servo saver on the actual servo itself, on the horn, and it is still bell crank, and the bell crank system is on a bit of an angle. That's typical for buggies. And look, if you had a buggy body on this and a wing, this is a buggy, right? Until you slap this on it. It could... If you wanted to convert it to a buggy, you totally could. I buy Z batteries and I like them. I've tried quite a few, and I'm a fan of these batteries. I've been using them for a while. There's a foam thing in the front, which is stopping this brick from... I know it fits, it's just snug. What did we say it was? 1.8 kilos. Let's just see. I'm pretty sure this is about a half a kilo brick. So this is too much for this car, really. You might actually have a better time with like a 2200. The only reason I'm not running a smaller battery, because I intended on doing it, was most of my 2200 3S batteries are 25C discharge. This is 80C discharge. And I wanted, yeah, look, even the fact that the Velcro doesn't quite reach, that tells you that it's bigger than intended. The battery's too big for the car. Now, these aren't thumb screw shocks. They've got spaces in them, right? I wouldn't mind if because it would cost them almost nothing. I wouldn't mind if this thing came with extra spaces, so you could change the preload, change the ride height if you wanted to, because it's really straightforward. Thankfully, you can 3D print this kind of thing. The files would already be on Thingiverse if you just look for shock spaces. There are other ways to do this as well. You don't need to have just the right thing. You can get anything that's kind of cylindrical, even some PVC pipe, cut like a gap out of it, and you can pop it in, cut them to your own size. There are ways to do this. We are going to run with this big battery because let's just see how it drives. It's not slapping until it's come from that far. And the other nice thing about that is when it touches, which you want a car to do that, You want that to happen before the shocks reach their maximum travel. Otherwise, you're going to blow a shock eventually. I see an alloy motor mount, a pretty blue alloy motor mount there. So that's good for heat dissipation and also good for this motor not moving. This is a lot of power going into steel CVA axles, dog bone on the inside, CVA on the outside. That's actually really nice to see. They should be pretty tough. They're vented tyres with foams. The rears are fatter than the fronts. I'm telling you, this is a buggy pretending to be a short course truck, hey? What I'd like to know is, are these 48 pitch? If they are, please, please, please be metal gears. Now it's only 2 screws here because the cover I'm about to pull off is not a load bearing cover. It's actually just a dust cover. That's why the screws are short as well. There we go. Oh no. Yeah, it is 48 pitch. How did I know that? Well, this. On a car with 32 dot pitch, for example, on the Kyosho Outlaw Rampage, also a rear-wheel drive car, which did actually come with 48 pitch gears, as did the HPI. I've converted both of those to 32 pitch, and it's just much more chunky, chunk, 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 but it's got a smoother feel to it. So smoothness is great, but I tell you what, the problem with brushless motors, rear-wheel drive especially, but any brushless system that's fast, that jumps, means these little tiny teeth, it might be fine even for hard acceleration, right? But think about dynamic forces. You've jumped, you're accelerating because you want to bring that nose up for whatever reason, maybe it's nose down a bit, and it lands. And as that hits the ground, all this weight banging down, suddenly this unloaded, very fast spinning motor, you might even be pinned, whatever teeth are touching that steel pinion, suddenly have to take the full power of this motor, and look, flat torque curve, as traction is suddenly applied. So the only thing that gives there is a slipper or the spur teeth. Speaking of slippers, this has a big tall spring on it. You can adjust that with the same box wrench size as you do on the outside on the gears here. I tell you what, don't over tighten that. Leave it so it's got plenty of slip in it. How much slip does it have? I'm going to hold the spur and just see. Okay, so I can turn the wheels now and it's slipping, right? It takes actually a fair bit of force. Not enough that I can get it to turn without my help. I wouldn't really want to go any tighter. I want that slipper to slip. I don't want these gears to break because they will. Now, if you own this car, you get tired of it breaking, can you change it to a 32 dot pitch? Manufacturers don't usually release the bigger gears. Like, they don't usually give you that kind of option from factory. And it usually takes being a popular car to have that as an aftermarket option. That said, many of these things are really, really similar. And if you eliminate the slipper when you do it, and it doesn't really matter for this kind of car, for 32 pitch, you're not going to need the slipper. The tires will then do the slipping and that'll be fine. These little gears just aren't strong enough. You can actually buy steel gears. Let me see. Be prepared to experiment. I've converted this to 32 pitch and it needed it badly. I've even retained the slipper, although it's a bit of a dog's breakfast, honestly. You pull the spur off and you look at the shape of the shaft, and it's usually an oval shape, but this is probably similar to all the others. It's often worth swapping to 32 if you bust this thing, rather than just replacing spurs all the time, because it gets tedious. Anything else we need to know? Turnbuckles. So you've got toe and caster that's adjustable, which is great. There's a slight toe out on the front. The lens on the camera here is going to bend things, so you can't eyeball it like I can eyeball it, but there's only a very slight toe out on the front. There's a greater toe in on the rear. That's appropriate for an off-road vehicle like this. When you're turning hard and the whole car is down, notice that as this picks up, because of how independent suspension works, the idea of this kind of arm is that it keeps your angle straight. See, on a live axle, any car with a live axle, this is a crawler, but if it was a road car, when it's up like that, now you've only got the edge of the tire, or when it's down, you only got the edge of the tire on the road. You don't want that. Independent suspension is great because it maintains maximum traction. It keeps that contact patch. See, like that's still flat on the ground. This is still flat on the ground. That's a big deal. If you're going to be doing a lot of turning though, it's still loading the outside of the tire, and sometimes it can be beneficial to bring the caster in just a bit. Let's fake it. So when you're down on sharp angles a lot, it's still got good traction, good bite. It's nice that you can adjust this stuff because you may want to. At this point, subscribe if you haven't. I'll mention that because until the last few videos, I've never actually asked people to subscribe. And it doesn't bother me. Like, it's often a vanity metric for YouTubers. Not all YouTubers, of course, but I'm literally here because I like talking to you guys and like playing with trucks. But the difference I've realized it makes is with manufacturers. When they're wondering whether to send me a car or not, they might look at my channel and go, oh, he's only got X number of subscribers. That's a small channel. And the oversight they may often make, and I suspect they have, is that they don't realize that my views are actually really quite high for a small channel. And so I'd like to be able to show them that with the subs. For those that don't look closely, that'd be really helpful. So thank you very much. And throw me a like too while we're at it, please and thank you. Dog, what on earth are you doing? Okay, so this is your gyro in action. It actually may be more sensitive than I want. We'll give it a drive, see what we think. Let's do it. Ooh, jumps nicer, doesn't it? It's got that high-pitched kind of whine to it that 48-pitch gears come with in a fast car. It's just checking over my shoulder then. I thought we might have had someone here. Ah, now that wasn't me, that was all gyro. Now, I have a big battery in this thing. If you had a smaller battery, you want to, I think, strap it in as far forward as you could in the car, because you've got all this mass in the back of that motor. It's going to just do better with a bit of weight balance up front. We're still in winter here for another few days. Ooh, yeah, nasty landing. Now, I haven't lengthened this jump yet. It needs more soil at each side of it. And I also haven't cleaned the track. My thinking was that the wheels are big enough on this, will be all right. I think I was wrong there. Again, the limited left turning is actually quite challenging on this track, which is not actually that small, honestly. But I was really struggling with the turning circle. So we're going to go this way, yeah? And I think the jump, my sad little jump, needs a bit more love too, so this is probably the direction to go for now. Alright, it hasn't rolled yet. That's nice. You notice it's been on its lid twice from a bad landing from the jump. Not from turning, and it looks like it wants to roll. There are no sway bars if you're wondering that right now. Doesn't need them, I don't reckon. Ooh. Now the thing about single axle drive, well rear wheel drive in this case, instead of all wheel drive, is that you don't get to adjust your attitude in the air. You don't get to pick the nose up or down when you're in the air using wheel speed or lack thereof. There just isn't there isn't that front control. I don't know if the front wheel drive will do it either. I suspect you need the mass from all wheels turning. Anyway, how you hit the jump really matters. I need to make a better jump, clearly, and I also need to clean this poor old track. We've had absolutely gale force winds here the last 36 hours. I really should have cleaned it, sorry. But it's once you're in the air, you're in the air. You don't get a choice what's happening after that. I haven't gone over about half throttle yet either. I think that's enough on my little track for you to get the idea. It handles nicely, doesn't roll when you think it might, and the gyro does the job. What about more bashy type driving? Let's have a look. All right, trigger warning. This will be abusive driving. I don't like abusive driving, but I think it's necessary to get the feel of a thing for a channel like mine. I want you to be able to see the plastic. Remember that we looked at the shock tower and we saw it kind of being really bendy? Oof. That bendy plastic plays a real role in durability. Not in handling, but in durability. That turning circle is rubbish, man. I'll tell you what. Speed's nice though. Body clips are all on after the lousy landings so far. I just want to see the max steering range here. Oh yeah, that really is maxed. It's got no more to give. There's not a lot of movement in these, so the bearings are nice. It has 22 sealed bearings, by the way. Do we have any leaky shocks? Yeah. Not particularly, but yeah, all the shocks are leaking, unfortunately. So that's a design issue, not an assembly issue. They're all doing it. The battery's still held in there just fine. The motor's taken some chips and bangs, but it's got a nice little plate under it. I noticed that before, but forgot to say it. So the plate helps. Fan's still spinning just fine. Gyro's doing its job. Body's taken some scratches, but yeah, she's looking alright so far. But we've only driven hard for a minute. Now it's this kind of driving where we're not actually on the short course, not what it's made for, where that spur is really at risk of breaking, and it's where you really want to have that nice loose slipper. Full speed now. I came off the throttle just before it hit the air. But I'm also guessing. You don't always know exactly. I'm not familiar with the car. You never really want to hit a jump at full berries. You want to hit a jump with some in reserve. And okay, in slow motion. Let me play that for a sec. Watch how it's in the air, I accelerate, and the front does pick up a little bit. The car is light enough in front that there is actually room for air authority. That is very interesting. Are the body clips still all on? I'd be surprised if they all are. Oh, they are. Not bad, not bad. This is a buggy pretending to be a short course truck, honestly. Are we still in frame? Not really. Alright. Now, also keep in mind, we're lugging around an enormous battery. And so the poor little car is doing more than really it's designed for here. And, alright. We've blown a... I don't know what we've blown. First of all, quick body inspection. This happens to all short course trucks. The paint starts to disappear. And the first part of these things to die really is the back and the top part there. Also, I noticed some damage to this corner, and in short order with abusive driving, these are going to crack here, these corners. These are going to collapse and crack here as well. And the back's going to get ratty, the front will probably get ratty as well. Don't buy this as a basher. There's nothing wrong with the car, it's just not what it's made for. Now on the ground, nothing's happening because it's an open diff. The axle is here. Hello, Mr. Axle. Now, when I was out there still, I tried to bend this far enough to get it to pop in to see just how far does this thing have to go to get it in, and I couldn't do it. What actually happened here, the plastic's bent somehow to make that pop out. I cannot see any damage, but I certainly couldn't tell you how it happened, because now it's just one screw to fix, right? So watch what happens. When I pull this screw, the wheel's going to fall outward. Like so. We can aim the axle in, get it in its cup. So remember, that's a dog bone, the cup's in there. And we line him up. Get the block in the hole, Craig. Come on, we covered this in kindergarten. There we go. And then back in, we get the link back in. So that's the simplest way I can see to do that. The included Allen key will do that, but gee, using a screwdriver is a lot easier. Check the description if you need some tools. I'd at least recommend a 1.5 and a 2mm bit. They're really common for hobby stuff. And a 2.5 rounds it out, you know. Anyway, what do we think of the car? It did great with this big fat battery, which I wouldn't recommend putting in. Get like a 3.5 amp 3S brick, and I think you'll be a happy camper. Get a 2S for 50% more runtime with the same rated size, just because of how batteries work. The motor was good. The steering was probably the weakest part. I think it really, it's not very tight steering. But this is made for a course where you're not really going to have tight turns. They're big sweeping corners this kind of car is made for. So that's not a complaint, it is an observation, but I think that is the weakest part if there's going to be a weak part. With the abusive driving, something has bent rather than snapped for that axle to come out. That's actually a plus in my book. Nothing broke today. I was intentionally abusing it on the mounds out there before. Nothing broke. Traction was quite good on the gravel. It floats beautifully in the air. Again, with this big brick, just floats beautifully. And once you get your eye in, so to speak, with throttle, it's a beautiful, smooth driving experience. The gyro seems like it's up really high, but it actually is perfect for my sloppy level of driving. As you gain skill and finesse, pop the lid off and just turn the gyro down a little bit. It tells you in the square manual, the radio manual, it tells you which way to turn it. Pretty sure it's anti-clockwise to turn it down, and just turn it down like, I don't know, if it's on half, turn it down like another quarter and see what you think, or maybe somewhere between there, like an eighth. I wouldn't turn it up any further. I think you wouldn't really want it higher, but it's certainly handled beautifully. The body will not last a long time. Staring at it, I'm seeing more missing paint on the inside. There's quite a long, I don't know if you can see that, there's quite a long crack of missing stuff. It's flaking pretty quickly, so keep that in mind. You may go through the bodies. Associated still sells the replacement bodies at time of this video. Consider this car if you are in a place where you've got big sweeping corners. Don't consider it if you want to bash hard. If you want to bash hard, honestly, this thing will take it all day and laugh. It is amazing value. This is a bit of a spoiler for the comparison video, but this will probably be my pick for best value all-round basher. With its center diff, gee, it just takes the abuse and takes it and takes it. The body still looks really good. Like, it looks better than this. It's covered in dust right now, but the body is in better condition than that. I haven't protected it or done anything. So get its big brother if you want to bash. Here's the wheelbase difference, by the way. For what this thing is, it's very good. But for what it isn't, if you buy it and it's not for you, you're not going to like it. Big thanks to my channel members. Here are the Scratch Build guys. Thank you so much for your support, guys. 3 tiers, that's the top tier, and those guys get their name on the videos. If you're current when I make the video, your name goes up there. I have 2 other tiers as well for everyone who wants to chip in a few bob to help me keep this thing running. Thank you very much to all of you who choose to do this. I'm not asking for it. I'm grateful for it, but I'm not asking for it. What I am asking for is a like for this video if you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. That's actually the most valuable thing to me. Out of all the things, I'm so glad that you guys choose to watch my stuff. Thank you. I hope it was useful. Let me know in the comments if there's anything else you want to see. Man, I've got some interesting stuff coming this year. Seriously, there's more than I can fit that I should really say right now. Let's just say it. There's a lot happening and I'm excited. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one on RC-TNT. Cheers.